The Battle of the Somme, fought between July 1st and November 18, 1916, remains one of the most infamous and blood-soaked episodes of World War I. It was a conflict that epitomized the horror and futility of trench warfare, while simultaneously ushering in new strategies and technologies that would redefine how wars were fought. To understand the significance of this battle, we must dive deep into the political, military, and human aspects that defined it. A story of unimaginable bravery, catastrophic losses, and the painful lessons learned amidst the carnage. The origins of the Battle of the Somme lay in the stalemate that had gripped the Western Front since late 1914. For nearly 2 years, opposing armies were locked in a deadly embrace along a 400-mile front stretching from the North Sea to the Swiss border. The Allies, led by Britain and France, sought to break this deadlock and relieve pressure on their forces engaged in other theaters of the war. By 1916, the French were heavily engaged in the Battle of Verdun, a brutal German offensive designed to bleed them dry. To aid their French allies, the British agreed to launch a major offensive along the Somme River in northern France. What followed would be a battle unlike any seen before. Planning for the Somme offensive was ambitious yet flawed. The British commander, General Sir Douglas Haig, envisioned a massive artillery bombardment to destroy German defenses, followed by an infantry advance to capture enemy positions. The logic seemed sound. Soften up the enemy with overwhelming firepower, then move in to occupy the shattered remains. However, this plan underestimated the resilience of German fortifications and overestimated the effectiveness of the bombardment. The Germans, well aware of the upcoming attack, had prepared deep trenches, bunkers, and barbed wire defenses that would prove nearly impervious to the artillery. On July 1, 1916, the British artillery opened fire. For 7 days, over 1.6 million shells were unleashed upon German positions, creating a deafening cacophony that could be heard miles away. Many soldiers believed the bombardment would obliterate the enemy, making the subsequent advance little more than a formality. Yet as the shelling subsided and the whistles blew to signal the attack, the grim reality became apparent. At 7:30 a.m., tens of thousands of British and Commonwealth troops climbed out of their trenches and advanced across no man's land. Clad in heavy uniforms and burdened with gear, they moved forward in tightly packed lines, a tactic designed to maintain cohesion, but which made them easy targets. The German defenders, emerging from their reinforced bunkers, were ready. Machine guns, rifles, and artillery tore into the advancing troops, cutting them down in waves. By the end of the first day, the British had suffered nearly 60,000 casualties, including 20,000 dead. The single bloodiest day in British military history. The scale of the slaughter shocked the world and left an indelible scar on British society. Families mourned the loss of sons, brothers, and fathers, while questions were raised about the competence of military leadership. Yet despite the horrific losses, the battle continued. Haig and his commanders believed that persistence would eventually break the German lines, and so the offensive ground on. Over the next 4.5 months, the Battle of the Somme became a grinding war of attrition. Soldiers lived, fought, and died in the trenches, enduring unspeakable conditions. Mud, rats, and the constant threat of enemy fire turned everyday existence into a nightmare. Advances were measured in yards, not miles, and any gains were often quickly lost to counterattacks. The toll on human life was staggering. By the time the battle ended, more than 1 million men had been killed or wounded on both sides. Yet amidst the horror, the Battle of the Somme also marked a turning point in modern warfare. It was during this battle that the British Army first employed the tank, a revolutionary new weapon designed to overcome the stalemate of trench warfare. Though the initial use of tanks was limited and plagued by mechanical failures, their potential was undeniable. The sight of these armored behemoths rolling across the battlefield foreshadowed a new era of mechanized warfare. The battle also highlighted the critical role of air power. Both sides deployed aircraft for reconnaissance, bombing, and even aerial combat. The skies above the Somme became a new theater of war, with pilots engaging in dogfights and daring missions. The lessons learned here would shape the development of air strategies in the decades to come. Please take a moment to like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any new daily videos. Another significant aspect of the Battle of the Somme was the psychological impact it had on soldiers and civilians alike. The relentless shelling, the sight of friends and comrades being torn apart, and the sheer scale of the carnage left deep scars. Many soldiers returned home physically and mentally shattered, their experiences giving rise to what we now recognize as post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Meanwhile, the images and stories from the front line brought the brutal realities of war into the public consciousness like never before. For the first time, war was not romanticized but revealed in all its grim reality. The strategic outcome of the Battle of the Somme remains a subject of debate among historians. On one hand, the Allies made some territorial gains, capturing around 125 square miles of land. The German army, meanwhile, suffered heavy losses and was forced to divert resources from other fronts. However, the cost of these achievements was staggering, and many argue that the battle's objectives could have been achieved with far fewer casualties. One of the enduring legacies of the Battle of the Somme is the profound impact it had on military strategy and tactics. The traditional methods of warfare, which emphasized massed infantry charges and static lines, were proven disastrously inadequate. Commanders began to recognize the importance of coordination between infantry, artillery, tanks, and air support. These lessons, though learned at a terrible cost, would shape the conduct of World War I and future conflicts. The human stories of the Somme are as compelling as the strategic and technological aspects. Among the millions who fought were poets, artists, and ordinary men whose experiences would forever change them. Figures like Wilfred Owen and Siegfried Sassoon captured the grim reality of the trenches in their poetry, giving voice to a generation scarred by war. Their words continue to resonate, serving as a poignant reminder of the sacrifices made and the horrors endured. As we reflect on the Battle of the Somme, it is essential to remember the individuals who lived through it. The names and faces of the soldiers may have faded with time, but their stories live on in letters, diaries, and memoirs. These accounts provide a window into the humanity that persisted amidst the inhumanity of war, a testament to the resilience and courage of the human spirit. The Somme also serves as a cautionary tale about the consequences of poor planning and inflexible leadership. The rigid tactics employed by commanders like Haig have been criticized for their lack of adaptability and disregard for the realities of modern warfare. At the same time, the battle underscores the importance of innovation and adaptation in the face of new challenges. The introduction of tanks and the increasing role of air power were harbingers of the transformative changes that would shape the 20th century. Today, the fields of the Somme are peaceful, dotted with memorials and cemeteries that honor the fallen. The scars of the battle, trenches, shell craters, and shattered villages are still visible, reminders of the violence that once engulfed this land. Visitors from around the world come to pay their respects, to walk in the footsteps of those who fought and died, and to reflect on the lessons of history. The Battle of the Somme was more than just a military engagement. It was a defining moment in the history of warfare and a profound human tragedy. It forced nations to confront the brutal realities of industrialized conflict and reshape the way wars were fought and perceived. While the sacrifices of those who fought can never be justified by the gains achieved, their legacy endures in the lessons learned and the memories preserved. As we conclude this exploration of the Battle of the Somme, we are reminded of the resilience of the human spirit and the importance of remembering history's darkest chapters. Let us honor those who gave their lives and ensure that their sacrifices were not in vain by striving for a future where such horrors are never repeated. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative and engaging, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into history and beyond. Stay curious.